It's not very often we get a mid-year rule change or rule interpretation change, so a couple of games into round 12, I just wanted to have a look at how it is going. Is it an improvement? And where is the state of the game at? Now, you'll notice that this is a shorter video for a couple of reasons. One, it's a Saturday morning and Daz is a very busy man over here at Daz HQ, let me tell you. The second reason, as you can probably tell with my voice, a little bit under the weather at the moment, so I'm not going to make this any more painful to listen to. Hopefully it's not than it has to be. And if you like these kind of Saturday morning update, one topic that started the weekend kind of video, you're going to have to show me, guys. Get the views in, get your mates watching, like the video if you like the video, to get people watching this. I only want to make the content that you guys want to watch, so keep that in mind. So, this discussion point really begins with the fact that my team hasn't played yet. If you're somewhat new around here, I'm a Hawthorn supporter. Don't hold that against me. Alright? But I do know that I'm going to come from this from someone who hasn't seen his team in a game have these kind of decisions affect them. So just keep that in mind before you spam off in the comments. And secondly is that whether you're for or against this interpretation change, there's obviously going to be errors. Interpretation changes can't be perceived as umpiring perfection. So yes, there are a couple of egregious non-calls that I'm going to talk about in a little bit, but we also need to acknowledge that the effect that it's having on the game overall is more important than individual decisions early on. So 2 games in, 8 full quarters of footy. Let's talk about the 2 or 3 that just don't make us laugh. Well, they do if it's not against our team, of course, but alas, here we are. The Nick Dacos one is holding the ball under nearly any holding the ball interpretation. And I'm not one that says a particular player is a protected species, but for those of you that may think that, I can't argue against it in the slightest, because it just looked like it was... How do 4 umpires miss that? It definitely looks like, well, it was Nick, he had a go, we just didn't pay it, the whistle didn't go to the mouth, it was extraordinary. I don't really have a response to that. And the other 2 that I thought were fairly egregious were both actually on Jason Horne-Francis, which again, if you think to yourself, well, protected species, they're going to look after him. As silly as I do think that that is, again, I don't really have an argument against you, particularly with the Sam Walsh one-handed one, considering Horne-Francis's first one or second one. One of those was about 3 minutes afterwards, and one of them was in the last quarter as well, although I'm not sitting here saying that it cost Port the game. They lost by 6 goals, for crying out loud. So we move on from there. The last quarters of both Carlton and the Western Bulldogs were unreal, led by some spectacular captain performances. But overall, how did the game look? Well, with the decision-making, overall, I've loved it. As a neutral fan that's watched both games pretty much from start to finish as best I could, I've loved the fact that the game feels more sped up. Now, quarter lengths are actually not that much different, especially in the third quarter, I believe it was, in the Port Adelaide Carlton game that went about 35 and a half minutes, and I think Collingwood Bulldogs had one that went over 33 as well. So the actual game time itself is not decreasing. Does that mean it's working or not? Well, my argument is that if you're sitting at home, and again, only saying this because I haven't been to a game this weekend yet, so I don't know, if you went to either Port Adelaide Carlton, Collingwood Bulldogs, or you're seeing this afterwards, and you went to a game this weekend, please comment below and let me know. As you can tell, Daz a little bit crook. I'm not going to be able to make it to the G to watch the Hawks and the Crows, which is disappointing, but I've got to live with it. But at home, it feels like the game's going quicker, which is good, and especially because free kicks aren't really that up. Like Carlton Port, I think only had 27 free kicks on the day. Collingwood Bulldogs had more, of course. But again, I didn't see that as a detractment to the game at all. I liked the ability to play holding the ball in between the arcs as well. So we know that if teams can exploit that standing rule, which Nick Dacos, Josh Dacos did really, really well. I thought Adam Treloar did it really well in the second half for the Dogs as well, as he kind of caught up to the interpretation between the arcs and exploiting the stand rule and getting that overlap ball a hell of a lot quicker and better. And if it doesn't prove that Collingwood need a tall forward now, I don't know what does, frankly. But, alas, we move on. The quickness of ball up calls, beautiful. Love it. It's probably going to stop sling tackles, absolutely. It's not going to stop footballing acts that are going to get you suspended. Sam Darcy is going to have 2 to 3 weeks on the sidelines. I've got no issue with that. There are going to be some people, my dad included, that are going to go, geez, in the 80s, you'd get a high five for that. Guess what? It's not the fucking 1980s anymore. So, for better or worse, we got to live with it. If you don't like it, get your 1980s DVDs out. Go watch that. Enjoy yourself. I can't do anything to help you there. But in modern interpretations, that's a 2-week suspension. And like I said, I can live with that. If you can't, good luck to you. But what I really love is the fact that we are now one step away from as best a fast-flowing game as we can, and that is getting rid of ruck nominations. So the ball's in congestion. We want to ball it up really quickly. Ball gets handed back to the umpire. Well done, Lockie Sullivan. And then the umpire goes, ruckman, and then throws it up. Mate, throw it up. If 2 blokes from the same team go for the contest, free kick against. Let them sort it out. Make the players make dumb mistakes instead of making sure the umpires are making sure the players are doing the right thing. We need to punish them for doing the wrong thing, not ensuring they're doing the right thing. The umpires have got enough to take care of. Let them worry about the decision-making. And if poor decision-making is made, punish it. Poor decision-making is punished in every other aspect of the game, except for 666 and ruck nominations. If teams can't figure out 3-4 years in that 666 is a breach, free kick, go. If you can't figure out that 2 blokes shouldn't fly for a ruck contest, free kick against you. Learn the rules. Simple as that. But in terms of holding the ball, I've loved it. Now, Carlton fans are going to hate this at this point because they had a shitload of tackles on Thursday, 77, I think, and only got 1 holding the ball decision. I get that. It doesn't mean it needs to be perfect right now. All we need to celebrate is the fact that it's better. A better product is fine. If we're complaining about a lack of perfection, you'll always be miserable. Work, life, your kids, whatever. If you expect your kids to be perfect, guess what? You're going to be fucking disappointed. If you're expecting a football game to look perfect, you're going to be disappointed. Do you know how many shit games they were in the 80s and 90s? Sure, they were high scoring. It didn't make them decent to watch. Not all of them. Anyway, name me one quality grand final from the 90s. Exactly. They were pretty much all blowouts. So you're going to have that bias there anyway. But yeah, I think umpiring right now is still needing to be fixed. So is umpiring fixed? No. Is the holding the ball fixed? No, not yet. But what it's doing without blowing the whistle is putting more pressure on players. So I think of Kane Farrell, I think of Isaac Quaynor, and I think of Bailey Williams. I nearly said Bailey Dale, but Bailey Williams. So those 3 instances where those guys had a player front onto them, and they had a choice. Run through the tackler, which in the old days, last week, the old days, but in terms of last week, would have been a ball up. This week would be holding the ball. All 3 of them fumbled. Good. That's what we want. More pressure, more intensity, and guess what it led to? More scoring. Both teams, both winning teams, kicked over 100 points on the weekend, which is nice. I'm not saying that's brand new, but it's something that's not happening a lot. So if you want faster scoring footy, this has been a tick. If you want free-flowing footy, it's been 3/4 of a tick with a couple of rule changes that need to be made at the end of the year. But overall, yes, we are 2 games in, small sample size, and again, I'm not a fan of a team, that has played so far, so take that with a grain of salt. Right now, as we sit here, I am super thrilled with how it's going. And as a neutral supporter who's been watching on my laptop, because that TV's shitting itself at the moment, I'm happy. Very happy. And I hope you are too as a neutral watching. It's not perfect, but it's better. And if we keep saying it's better and better and better the longer we go, the better off we'll be as fans, the better off we'll be as a spectacle. So those are my quick thoughts. What do you think? Comment below. Let me know. I'll be replying to you throughout the day. If you haven't checked out my May edition of the 2024 mock drafts, go and do that. Apart from that, unless you barrack for the Crows, and I love all my Crows subscribers, but I hope you lose today. I hope the Hawks get up. I'm not sure if I have a lot of faith, but I hope they do. But all is fair in love and war. I hope your team goes well. I hope you have a better weekend. Look after yourselves. Look after each other. And I will see you very, very shortly.